Hello and welcome to ENCORE. Coming up, it's been 6 months since the offices of Charlie Hebdo were attacked by gunmen who went on to kill 12 people on sight. The attack rallied waves of support for the French weekly paper and more globally for freedom of expression in all its guises. Today we're talking to cartoonist Patrick Pinter and Charlie Hebdo journalist Zineb El Rhazoui about the risky business of satire and drawing without borders. Zineb, thanks for being with us, and Patrick, thank you for being our guest. Now, since the attacks of January 7th on Charlie Hebdo, the weekly paper has continued its print run. It's been published despite having lost key members of staff, including the editor Stéphane Charbonnier, or Charb as we know him. Zineb, you weren't at work that day, so you narrowly avoided this attack. When you started working in the media, Charlie Hebdo and elsewhere, did you ever think that you could be risking your life with this job?
Actually, I knew that. I knew that even if, when you are, as a team, when you are threatened, you don't really seriously, you don't imagine that there is people who want to kill you because of cartoons, of funny drawings, But after what happened, now we are forced to consider that threat more seriously. Most of us now, members of the team, survivors of Charlie Hebdo, live under police protection because of the threats. And, when I joined this team, I knew that I immediately saw it was a completely free team, and I knew that those who touch certain themes, certain subjects, such as drawing the prophet, actually, they risk their life.
So there is a risk there. Now, Patrick, you draw cartoons for L'Orient Le Jour, among others. That's a Lebanese French language paper. They're based in Beirut. It's a part of the world that is no stranger to religious strife, sectarian violence. What did you think when you learned of this attack in secular France?
Wow. First, my drawings are supposed to leave. I might not leave, That was the first reaction. Cartoonists never saw that something like this could happen. I was very close to some of these cartoonists for years, for 30 years actually. In Lebanon, it's really different. I mean, I'm not living in Lebanon, I'm living in France. I'm drawing from France. So I have to take into account 6 different religions. I have to take into account a lot of things that here we don't face. But for the first time, we realized 6 months ago that we could be killed or something very strange could happen. And we have to think about it. And it's some kind of sword of Damocles right now. When I'm drawing, 10 or 30 years ago, I never thought that something strange like this could happen, I was just thinking, is it funny? We were just thinking of doing funny things and creating ideas. Is it funny? Is it clever? Is it understandable by anyone? And now I have to join. Where is my advocate? What is the phone number of my advocate? Do I need a lawyer? Is it, strong enough or too strong? Something I never realized before.
So the risks go beyond geography.
Yeah.
Now, January 7th, 2015 was not the first time the headquarters of Charlie Hebdo had come under attack. Arson attempts and death threats had already been directed at the paper in previous years. In their resolve to keep the publication going after January's attack, the remaining journalists were given space in the offices of Libération, the French daily paper, and they've been working there since. Solidarity from their fellow journalists, since this act of terrorism was seen by many as an attack on freedom of speech. But have the attacks really affected the way artists work in France? Natasha Vesnich and Aurore Dupuis find out.
Putting a smile on people's faces, whatever the cost. That's the aim of this French cartoonist. Armed with a pen and paper, Louison and her panda tattoo pay tribute to the victims of the Charlie Hebdo attack, killed in Paris 6 months ago.
I've drawn Je suis Charlie on an ice cream. I don't think that slogan represents them well, so I'm just poking fun at it. It's boiling hot here too, so drawing an ice cream is refreshing.
Louison draws about everything. For her, there are no taboos, yet she finds it difficult to follow the footsteps of the Charlie Hebdo victims.
Many great cartoonists were among those killed in the terrorist attack. There's a lot of pressure to fill their shoes, and it's not easy. It's overwhelming. But you think, okay, let's do this.
The attack has also affected the work of some comedians, like Samia Oroseman.
Juste un petit message pour tous les cinglés, tous les faux, les malades mentaux, islamistes, intégristes, djihadistes, pianistes, cyclistes. Vous êtes gentils maintenant, vous nous laissez tranquilles. Hein, on est fatigués, c'est déjà compliqué de vivre ici en Europe. Si en plus vous commencez à ramener toute la haine vers nous, ça commence à fatiguer un petit peu beaucoup quand même. Voilà. Donc merci de choisir une autre religion.
Throughout her sketches, Samia jokes about religion with absolutely no restraint.
My show has attracted a lot of attention. In the press, they wrote about a female Muslim comedian wearing the veil. Is that even possible? So it sparked a lot of curiosity. I'm happy about the media frenzy, but I'm also sad to see it happen that way.
In this Parisian theatre, the director wants to fight for freedom of expression, but things don't always feel right.
What worries me is that some people are using Charlie for their own interests. I always hear people saying, let's do this for Charlie, let's do this against Charlie, and I find some of that obscene. I've been asked to do a huge media show to mark the one-year anniversary of the tragedy, and I find that obscene.
Instead, the theatre's set to mark the tragic anniversary behind closed doors to pay tribute to the cartoonists who died for their drawings.
Now, one of the former members of staff at Charlie Hebdo, Luz, a cartoonist, he said that in the wake of the attacks, everyone was expecting a lot from the magazine. They were expecting a certain response, and that was a lot of pressure to deal with. How do you think that magazines and cartoonists in general, papers, can overcome this idea that they need to be symbolic, that they need to fall into empty gestures or symbolism?
Meditation. If you just start to think about all those things, you don't even think about keeping on, you know. It's too hard. I mean, a crazy guy might be a French guy, your neighbor, just living next door and having different perspectives on your work. So I don't jump into that paranoia. The only thing I would say here regarding Charlie is that to me, Charlie was a mixture of different ideas, different types of guys, different generation. And I don't see Charlie as a label. It's not Coca-Cola. It's much more, you know.
Yeah. So the way to react, I suppose, is not to react. Now, Zineb, working at the paper, even before these recent attacks, you had received threats about your work in writing and depicting the Prophet with your colleagues. Since January, that's intensified and your life has changed considerably, become more complicated. You've had to take serious security precautions. You're still writing for the paper, but with that knowledge and those safety measures that you have to take, how does that change the way you work?
Actually, everything has completely changed, not only for me, but also for my colleagues. And I think things have changed also for the other journalists here in France. We realize now that when you report in certain situations, people are afraid to talk to you. People don't want their name to be written. They don't want their face to be drawn in Charlie Hebdo. There is an atmosphere of fear, a general atmosphere of fear that actually is the worst threat for our job. I think it is something beyond my own person or my own career as a journalist. I think our profession, I mean, journalism now starts to face new problems that didn't exist before. But you know, I think that in such a situation we have to come back to very simple principles. How can we really believe that people can be upset because you supposedly have shown a bad image of their belief? Don't you think? I mean, they have we all have to understand and to let them understand that the ugliest image of their belief is given by the terrorists, actually, and not by my colleagues who just draw very funny cartoons. And if we are, I mean, the more we share this idea, if we are, the more we are, the less will be the price for us to pay. The problem is Charlie Hebdo was working before, was struggling for those values, and Charlie Hebdo was left alone by those who were supposed to defend Charlie Hebdo. So we have to understand as a profession, as a journalist, that when we choose the silence, we put in danger those who choose to talk.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of those who defend Charlie Hebdo, like you say, the magazine, the paper was in trouble. They didn't have enough funds, the print run was getting very low. And then immediately after the attack, there was this enormous wave of solidarity and of support for the paper itself, but also for cartoonists and satirical journalists worldwide. 8 million copies of the following edition was sold. Now, Patrick, do you think that momentum, that wave of support, has really bolstered the cartoon as industry?
Not at all. I would just say one thing. Maybe this reaction is interesting regarding the way we want a new world. What do we really want to live? What is the humor? Would you like to live in a world without music, love, love affairs, any type of love affairs, you know? That might be the real challenge for next year's. I mean, if we don't realize right now that nobody is supposed to decide what we think, what we like, the way we behave, and if I want to have 10 girlfriends, drink all night and do whatever I want, listen to music, and even religious music, any type of religious music, or love sculptures of idols, I'm supposed to do whatever I like, you know. And life is so short, so why do we have to worry about all those things? I don't think we have to fall into the trap of those terrorists. Mm-hmm. I don't call them terrorists, I call them psychopaths or sociopaths, because in my opinion, they have nothing to do with religion. And the cake is going to faint, I mean, to disappear within years. I remember Pol Pot, I remember a lot of tragedies, 9/11, and what else? What happened 10 years after that, or 5 years after that? The cake has totally disappeared.
So it comes back to now, you know, freedom of expression. Zineb, just quickly, one last question. You've talked about this, people taking offence at an attack on their religious symbols and the objects of their faith. What about culture, though? Because it's not just religion that comes under attack. The Bardo Museum in Tunisia, that has been the victim of an attack recently. How would you explain these cultural attacks?
Actually, this monster that we are fighting will always find reasons to kill. Here they pretended to have killed my colleagues because they have drowned the prophet, but it is the same monster who kills in Nigeria, in Syria, in Iraq, and now everywhere in the world. And they might kill, this monster might kill just because you are not covering your hair, or because you are having sex or drinking a beer. So I totally agree with Patrick. We shall not let them put the rules of the game with their guns.
Mm-hmm. So a staunch defence for freedom of expression there. Zineb, sadly, that's all we've got time for. Thank you so much for being with us, and Patrick as well. We'll leave you with some of the best of Charlie Hebdo's covers since those attacks. Remember, you can get more news on our website. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.